ISPC Tailboard Talks, episode number 6. I'm your host, Mark, along with my co-host, Jerry. How you doing today, Jerry?
I'm good, Mark. Thank you for having me, man. It's good to do it again. I think, like I said, I think we need a saxophone in there, Maybe
Okay.
a harmonica.
We'll have to mix up the
need
music,
you to learn.
huh?
I need you to learn how to play my harmonica.
Gotcha. You ain't going to get me to play the harmonica, I can tell you that. No, good to be back with you. Good to be back on another episode. Today, we have a guest with us, Matthew Teeters from UPPCO. So we'll get to Matt here in a little bit.
Spend some time in the Upper Peninsula, hanging out with the Upers.
I've been to Michigan multiple times, so always fun place.
I've been close. Traverse City was the farthest north I've been in there. That's absolutely gorgeous. And from a Louisiana guy, to see that much water without salt is very weird.
Yeah.
That's a big lake.
Yes, it is. Okay.
So let's talk about our sponsor real quick. Before we get anything else, we got to tell you about the people who bring this to you, who help us bring it to you. Bierer Meters. Bierer USA Utility Support Assistance is Bieer's one-of-a-kind, no-cost service to the electric utility industry, including professional customer service, technical support, repairs, and collaboration, live line conferencing, on-site field training, speaking at tool or work methods, committee meetings, safety conferences, seminars, presentations. They will come to you and show you all about their product, Bierer Meters, made in the USA, family-owned, phenomenal products and company and people, most of all. So give them a call, 803-786-4839, 803-786-4839, Bierer Meters, Bierer.
Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome, man.
Always good to give a shout out to our cohorts at Bierer Meters.
Yeah, good guys, good people.
We'll talk about some other things here throughout the podcast with Bierer as well that they're really doing to help out the industry. Okay, so before we get to our guests, let's do our tailboard talk for today, which is tick prevention.
Spring is upon us.
Spring is upon us.
At least in the South. I don't know about you up there in Pennsylvania.
It's warm up here. It's getting warmer. Not in the 90s, but you can have that. I like the 75, 80s, right?
We all do, but yeah, not all of us have that luxury.
Well, you don't have ticks in the South because it's too dang hot. They don't like all that stuff.
We do have them. At least when I was a kid. But it's like, Coils and Roadrunner and stuff. I remember more of those being around when I was a kid. But I used to also play in the woods a lot more. Yeah. Being a little hick from the country, you go play, in the field in the creek, and you'd come back with ticks on you. But it's really prevalent. So the thing about ticks is you don't notice having them on you until it's too late, or until they're dug in, and by then it is too late. So once they bite you, it's over, right?
Yeah, and they like to find places that don't necessarily have the best feeling, right? They like the warm areas, the cracks and the crevices in your body and so on, right? So I'm something crawling on my neck, I feel it instantly, right? Something crawling up under my arm or something, I don't necessarily feel it quite as quick. But I don't like stuff crawling on me, so I've been fortunate not to have too many ticks on me. But I know people that get them every time. They can just step in the woods and they get ticks on them. So
the thing is that, and one of the main things we have to think about when we're working is that our mind is somewhere else. It's on the job. It's not on whether or not we've got ticks on us. So oftentimes we don't even think about that until we get done. We get back home, and even then you're not really kind of paying attention to it, because by then they've probably found a place. They haven't dug in yet, but they found a place to light and are just biding their time at that point. So a lot of factors against you realizing that you may be carrying around a little podna.
And, the other thing, too, is we always think about ticks. I'm going to get them if I'm in the right-of-way, right? Or I'm going to get them if I'm in the woods or high grass. And those are the more prevalent places to get ticks, right? But that doesn't mean you can't go right out here in your lawn and get ticks, right?
Right.
We have areas, my main background is substations, and we have been at substations that are near wooded areas, right? The lawns are cut around them, and we've showed up for walk downs, things like that, and 3 or 4 people say, "Oh, I have a couple ticks on me when I went to leave." So We got to, to your point where we don't think about it or we don't prepare for it, it's not just where you think ticks are. Ticks can be everywhere, right? All they need is grass and vegetation, those type of places. So, obviously we got our repellents and stuff that you can put on real time. There's other stuff we can do as well, though, as far as treating our clothing and so on, and goes a long way to helping when, to your point, you're not thinking about ticks, right? You're thinking about the job. You're responding to trouble, whatever the case may be. Or you go from an area that you don't really have to worry about ticks to you get to an area where all of a sudden, now I do got to worry about ticks. And again, it's not at the forefront of your mind. So you're not, you're not stopping and taking that time to put those repellents on and so on. So treating your clothing goes a long way to help you protect yourself.
And a lot of our PPE is automatically inherent with preventing ticks. So one of the things you want to do is wear loose-fitting long-sleeve shirts and pants. Obviously, we're doing that anyway with what we typically have boots on and long pants. I mean, nobody's really working in cutoffs and tank tops, so we're pretty safe in that respect. But also, if you're going to be in a heavy tick area, you need to treat your clothing with some sort of insect repellent. 0.5% permethrin is probably the best thing to do, and that'll last for a few washes too. It'll get you 3 or 4 washes, I believe. Or you can buy the permethrin treated clothing. But the great thing about it also works for mosquitoes as well. So it's a double duty there. If you're going to do that, though, make sure you read the directions on the product.
Yeah, always follow the manufacturer instructions for applying that stuff. You don't want to ruin your clothing and such. The other thing you can do too is, taping your cuffs, taping the bottom of your pant legs, tucking them in your boots, right? Things of that nature. And the other thing is wear light colored clothing. We had this issue at the utility I worked for. Most of our FR clothing that we were required to wear are blue jeans and dark blue shirts, right? And so as we talked about tick prevention when it came around, we were like, hey, it'd be nice if we could get some lighter color, either light gray, light tan shirts, that type of stuff, lighter pants. Not only does that stuff help you with heat, and keeping your workers cool, but it'll also help you when you're trying to identify ticks and that type of stuff on your clothing. It's a little easier to see those things when you have lighter clothing on. So,
be careful; they'll put you in white Tyvek.
Yeah, right. So,
if you get a tick on you, use the proper tools to get it off. Do not squeeze them. If you leave the head in there, it's not helping. The original Tick Key is a great product. I've known those guys for years, doing the trade show circuit with them. Give them a try. They actually have that available online now everywhere. The original Tick Key, give them a shot. I think it's tickkey.com, but I believe they have it at Walmart now too. So that's even better. There's no chance or no reason for you not to have that.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff out there to And the other thing, too, the CDC website, right? If you're looking for information on any type of insects, ticks, mosquitoes, prevention, stuff you can do, tips, if you do get a tick embedded in you, right, that you can follow, you can always go to the CDC website and they will give you a lot of good information of how to respond to that stuff as well.
Awesome. All right. So now that that's done, we've given you some safety information, a tailboard talk. We can actually talk to our guest now, the man that we're here to talk to. Move up to the Upper Peninsula, the Upper way, I guess. That's a good ways away from here, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's quite a haul to you.
Yeah, from Central Louisiana all the way up to Upper Peninsula. In the blink of an eye, we're going to talk to our special guest, Mr. Matthew Teeters. Matthew, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you, Matt. So just for everybody's awareness, Matt is the operations manager for UPPCO, which is the Upper Peninsula Power Company in Michigan. So look forward to talking with Matt today. So give us a little bit about your background and kind of how, obviously you weren't hired as an operations manager at UPPCO. So what's your background? What's your kind of career path look like in from a 5,000 or 10,000 foot view to where you're at today? What did that look like?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It all started, right after high school. 5 days later, I went to line school, NWTC in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and went through that 10-month program before getting hired in. I did a little bit of time with some contractors before getting hired into Wisconsin Public Service, and went through their apprenticeship program. And I was a journeyman and a lead lineman for them for a while. I was there for about 10 years before opportunity came up at UPPCO to become a supervisor here and oversee one of the line departments. Yeah, that was a good transition. Knew some of the guys because UPPCO and WPS at the time were UPPCO was a partner company with WPS, so that was good. I already knew the safety rules, knew the work practices, which really helped me move into the office. A few years later, WPS sold UPPCO, so then we became a standalone company, which brought a fair number of our challenges, right? We're a small company, no longer part of a bigger organization. And that's when I decided to get my CUSP credentials and became a technical supervisor for the company. So went from supervising the line department to supervising our safety procedures and processes for our line department. So that was a fun transition. Did that for a few years, and then in 2020 got the opportunity to become the operations manager. And now I oversee our 42 linemen we have here at UPPCO, company-wide, and then the supervisors, the technical supervisor, really all of our distribution operations here at the company.
Cool.
So moving from a corporate safety thing to that small, you're responsible now for your safety training. How did that change the way you thought about it? I mean, that had to be like, okay, well, we had these rules and procedures and we had this backing. Now we have to do this on our own. I mean, how did that change your insight? And obviously, what a great chance to change culture, your safety culture, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. WPS didn't own UPPCO for very long, right? So it was a 15-year stint. So they went from one culture into the Wisconsin Public Service and Integris culture, and then back to UPPCO standalone, right? Back to a small company. So we had to hire a safety manager, and we went from having a large safety department to just a single safety department, single person safety department. And that was where the opportunities to assist that gentleman was born of our supervisors, right? Like we had to kind of take the bull by the horns a little bit and assist him because he did not come from a line or, a hydro department background or, all the different departments we have at UPPCO. You can't just build this perfect safety person. You hire somebody that's got the credentials that you need and with the right mindset and then build from there.
So I think probably UPPCO is similar to a lot of companies now that maybe have 1 to 3, 1 to 5, let's call them safety professionals, right? And then the rest of your safety is really on, let's call it the front line, right? Your frontline supervisors and obviously your frontline workers, right? We're all responsible for our own safety, which I think is a very important aspect of the safety culture, right? If you have frontline people that their mentality or their thinking is safety's not on me, that's the safety guy, we got a big gap to fill, right? So how was that kind of in follow-up to Jerry's question with you, how did you see that transition at the workforce level when, again, you went from that WPS culture where there was a lot more safety support, a lot more safety backing to a point now where safety's really everybody, right? It's not that safety group. Or what did you see that transition as from more of a worker level?
Yeah, I think it was an opportunity for teamwork, really. It gave everybody a part of the ownership of safety. And it provided the avenue for the employees to come up to their supervisors and managers to address the situations, and likewise for managers and supervisors to get more involved in the day-to-day operations and the safety of the crews.
No, I think that's a good thing. So let's shift just a little bit to training. You mentioned that you went through the community college there in Wisconsin. And, I think a lot of employers rely on potentially talent from community colleges, right, across the country. What are those community colleges doing, or how, I guess, is the talent coming from those community colleges to your organization and others, right? Is that, I guess, one, is that do you guys have a partnership with them, or do you just look to certain colleges to get that talent? What's that relationship between the community college and specifically UPPCO?
Yeah, so we have a couple of them in the area. We have one at Northern Michigan University that we've been partnered with for quite a while, and since its beginning back in 2001, 2002 timeframe, and I would think that about half of our line electricians graduated from that program, which is pretty significant. So we don't hire a lot of apprentices. We don't train a lot of apprentices, but a lot of them will go out, seek work elsewhere, go work with the contractors for a while, and then they want to get back home. The UP is a very special place to a lot of people, and so they bide their time. They get their apprenticeship completed, a lot of them, and then they come back to UPPCO. And that value of that school just introduces them to the trade and gets them a better understanding of what it takes to be a line electrician.
Now, do you guys collaborate with the community colleges? Like, do you have I guess you could call it a say or input into what? Yeah.
Absolutely. The program at Northern, we do have a partnership with. And we have employees that are on their board and assist with the selection process for the students that go to the program. And then we do also do some mock interviews towards the end of their course so that they can kind of get an understanding of how the interview process feels, what it looks like. So we go in there, ask them some questions, and it really gives us an opportunity also to see who's coming out of the program. Maybe a future hire, a future candidate that we'd like to look at. Yeah. And then also the program down at NWTC in Green Bay, that is who we're partnered with for our apprenticeship program, our internal apprenticeship program. So the 600 hours of training that our apprentices are required, they get that down at NWTC. So we send our apprentices down there for 4 40-hour weeks every year, and we send them down there for that training. So they go through a Wisconsin Department of Labor apprenticeship program and a Michigan Department of Labor program, because here we want to evaluate and test them on their understanding of UPPCO practices and safety rules. So it's kind of a joint effort here between the two states, which is pretty unique. But it was the opportunity presented by NWTC, and they have a really good apprenticeship program down there.
I mean, I don't want to toot T&D Power Skills horn, but NWTC has been a client for T&D Power Skills for quite a while. So thank you for that, Matt. I appreciate that.
and now we're using that same platform for some of our internal evaluating for employees with our partnership through NWTC. So
thank you. And here's the thing that gets me is that, to me, it's incumbent upon the utility to partner with the community college to inform each of them informs each other what they need. Okay, the utility. Okay, look, man, I need a lot of people. You're training a lot of people. This is kind of what I need them to know. And obviously it all works out great the way that works. Yeah, that's my thing. Don't you see that it's incumbent upon the utility to help that community, no matter which community you're in, no matter which college you're partnered with, to build that line worker that you see that the area needs or the community needs, right?
Absolutely. And I think it highlights one of the most special things about this industry is we share. We hire a fair number of people that come from the mining industry or sales, and they're not used to an industry that is so openly shares information, whether it's utility to utility. You go to a trade show and everybody's sharing information and making partnerships, and that is a very, very special thing about this industry.
Oh yeah. Well, we're all in it for the thing to keep everybody safe. I mean, at least that's what I'm here for.
It has become a pathway over the last, I'd say, 10 plus years. I've been in this industry 25 plus years. I can't say it was fully that way when I entered this industry, right? There was a lot of siloing and keeping it to yourself and not willing to, I'm not giving away my secrets or my tricks of the trade. And I think we've come a long way, like Jerry said, in the striving for, the safety results and the safety culture and everybody goes home the same way they came to work type of mentality, and the sharing that goes on in this industry, is a great thing. And that's probably a pretty good segue, Jerry, into our sponsors sharing that they give back to this industry, which is something pretty special. So why don't you tell us a little about that?
Yeah. So Bierer Meters, the guys at Bierer Meters started this little thing called ECOS, the Electric Culture of Safety. Now, basically, it is a grassroots nationwide safety partnership that brings the electric utility industry together in unity, building a line team. So ECOS partners share at no cost to your line crews their knowledge, their experiences, their expertise, their passion, and it's all for the common goal of ensuring that the heroes of light return home safely to their family crew when the task is complete. So ECOS, Electric Culture of Safety, now has over 12,000 partners with monthly lineman safety national webinars with relevant topics of communication, leadership, organization, training. Mark, you've presented. I've presented. If you want to know more about it, or to partner up, or to find out more about it, email safetytraining@biermeters.com, safetytraining@biermeters.com, BIERER meters.com, or go to electriccultureofsafety.com. electriccultureofsafety.com. Together, we're changing our electric culture of safety. Phenomenal webinar series. I think this month is, I know our buddy Dan Taylor is doing rigging, and I just got that email this morning. Who else?
I think he's with Curtis, I believe.
Yeah, Curtis Bradley, who was our guest last podcast. Both phenomenal individuals. Dan has one of the greatest laughs. If he gets the giggles and starts chuckling while he's teaching, he has one of the greatest laughs ever. So it's fun.
Yeah. So shout out to ECOS. Always a good thing. I'm heading back down there in June. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, Matt, you might have just had a visit from Brent and ECOS. I think I saw. Is that correct? Yeah,
they were. He was up here 2 weeks ago and presented to all of our line electricians. And yeah, great message. It was very appreciated. They do a really good job with the ECOS. And we've had similar partnerships with ISPC here over the years, and same Dan Taylor coming in to speak to our employees has been great.
Yeah. Good guy, good people.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get back up there soon. I wouldn't mind another trip to Michigan.
As long as it's not in like December, January.
Yeah, don't bring me up there in December or January. I want to go up there in June or July.
Well, it's 7 months out of the year. You probably want to avoid the area.
That's right. Yeah. I've been up there in the winter. It's not pretty. So, yeah. All right. So, Matt, I think we talked, about the apprenticeship and the initial training and that type of stuff. Let's shift a little to okay, now I'm the journeyman, right? So as your company at UPPCO, and I know this kind of ebbs and flows as you talk to people around the industry, but, what are you guys doing at UPPCO for your people once they're journeymen, right? So now I'm a journeyman. I got my so-called wings. Let's set sail and go work, right? But we all know, I think especially the three of us on this call, that it doesn't stop there, right? We need to be providing these guys training. And I'm not talking about, the what I call compliance training, right? The bucket truck rescue, the CPR first aid, the maybe confined space, that type of stuff. I'm talking about, what are you guys doing to ensure that your people are staying top-notch year in and year out? Because I know a lot of companies out there, and I'm not going to name any names, but I know a lot of companies out there that once you become journeyman, the refresher or continuing education training is just not there. And so what are you guys doing to combat that?
Well, one of the things that we do is annually we have what we call line school. We bring all of our line electricians or linemen into teach topics that they ask for, right? So throughout the year, we ask, kind of what people are looking for additional training, and we bring in a trainer, or we internally train employees on the subjects that they're looking for. So this year we have transformer banking, and we have NWTC and Pete Milesville coming up this year to provide a fair amount of that training, as well as a few other topics when it comes to our work standards and construction. So that's one of the things that we do. In addition to that, each month we have our work methods meetings, where we bring a lineman or two from each of our 6 districts, and we roundtable and talk about what's going right, what's going bad, where do we have room for improvement, what training is needed, and that way we can spot certain training at each district as needed, and do more of a one-on-one type training for employees with that. So that's kind of been working for us. We're also looking at a new LMS platform so that we can do a little more of that online training, making sure the content that needs to get to the employee is getting to the employee. Because when supervisors, each one of them might have their own different ability to train or discuss a topic, it might not get all delivered the same or reach the employee the same. So we're hoping that through an LMS program, we can get the content to each individual employee delivered appropriately. That's our goal with that new LMS program.
My kind of next question was going to be, being a smaller company, I'm assuming that you rely on some of your supervisory level people to deliver some of that training, right? And don't think it's because you're small. Again, I work for one of the largest investor-owned utilities in the country, and we relied on our supervisors to deliver training. And one of my, I won't call it a complaint, but one of my observations to more senior leaders was always, listen, we have really good supervisors, but if you are delivering training that is important or maybe even critical, that every bit of it gets delivered and gets delivered properly, how do you ensure that each and every supervisor, any one person is ever going to deliver it the same, but how do you ensure that your people are getting the same training in those 6 different districts, right? So that they're all up to speed on your work procedures and your processes and so on. I mean, it's a tough juggling act.
Absolutely, Mark. And that is, where this line school, as we call it, we bring all of the linemen down to one district, that we split each work group up so that it's 3 different days. They get the same content each of the 3 days. And we make sure that, it's the same presenters. So the message is the same to all of them. And then the same goes for the LMS, trying to deliver that consistent message, because safety meetings, all of that is ran by our supervisors. And like you said, we have great supervisors. It's just their ability to maybe train a specific subject or deliver the same message can be difficult. I definitely did my best when I was in that position, and it's not always easy, right? They're not hired to train; they're hired to supervise, but they get tasked with a lot of different items.
I think the thing that I've said, and I know Jerry has heard me say this before, is everybody wants to do it the right way or deliver things the right way, and nobody intends not to, but you can have the best supervisor in the world, you can have the best employee in the world, you can have the best worker in the world. that doesn't make them a trainer, right? There's a special skill set to being able to train, because if you can't connect with the people that you're trying to deliver your message to, again, you can be the best employee supervisor in the world, and it's just going to fall short. It's that simple. And so I think it's a struggle. There's even trainers. I've sat in the classes, right, of the trainer that reads the PowerPoint off the screen, right? Like, I can sit down and read the book myself. I don't need you to read it to me. So I think it's a struggle industry-wide.
Yeah, and not all trainers are the same. Same with not all linemen are the same, right? Some of them need to receive their training in different ways, and some of them just need different aspects of training, right? And so that's something we've worked on here at UPPCO since we've been standalone, is that when we hire a new journeyman lineman, their experiences, the training they've received, how do we initiate them? How do we get them to be UPPCOized, as we like to call it, right? Like, what does that look like to get them ready to be a journeyman lineman at UPPCO? And that's different for each one of them. So we take 2 to 6 months to dedicate time just to that employee to get them onboarded and ready to be an UPPCO lineman going out on trouble calls.
Now, I think you spoke about the LMS, an LMS, and consistency were all mentioned. To me, the LMSs, the computerized training that we have available and accessible to us, give us an opportunity to have consistent training now, whereas it didn't before, especially over large areas.
Yeah, I would agree. Just being able to provide that same content across the company. And the other nice part about the learning management system like that is that it doesn't have to be done at this time on this day, right? So, we're trying to run a business and get everybody trained at they can do, one of them can do it at 1 p.m. and one of them can do it at 8 a.m. They just have to log in and utilize the system to get their training, which is another big benefit to us, because we have a short construction season up here with the amount of snow that we get through the winter months.
And it's a perfect thing, like you said. Downtime. If you have some downtime, you can do it at the drop of a hat, and you don't have to travel a long way to be trained or to get at least a portion.
Yeah, absolutely, Jerry. And that's something we struggle with here, is because our construction season is typically June until November, and then the snow starts flying if it hasn't already, and we go into maintenance mode, right? And there's some capital and larger projects that we can work on, but typically, it becomes maintenance and training time frame. So then it's like you're drinking from a fire hose for about 4 months as the company's trying to, get all that OSHA refresher and first aid CPR and forklift, all those trainings completed. So having a good LMS platform is really a key part of it.
Yeah. And balance is absolutely also going to be a key to it. You can have the best training program in the world, but if you don't balance it with that real world stuff, LMS is only as good as the physical hands-on portion that you're able to put with it as well. So, and that falls into your trainers too. But we were talking about we were talking about offline real training and safe training. Mark?
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about it, or touched a little bit about it already, Matt, but what are you guys doing to provide that, let's call it real training, right? Like Jerry kind of mentioned, you have your LMS, and by all means, that's great. And I think it's probably the way training's going, right? Because you can have training set up, delivered by one instructor, so everybody's getting the same training, but you absolutely then need that field portion, right, to go out and verify that those employees got what they just learned in the LMS training and can put it to real use in the field. So what are you guys doing when it comes to that real training? And then I have one follow-up question to that.
Okay. Yeah, we're trying to approach those with an open mind and bring in subject matter experts. Chainsaw training is one that comes to mind when you bring that up, is that we actually bring in a chainsaw trainer, do hands-on training, cut some trees off of lines, cut some trees down that are maybe close to lines. So, in a practice yard type setting, or out on some of the company property, we'll actually fell some trees to make sure that's one of those trainings that you can't learn that on a computer. That's hands-on training. So that's one of the real training I would like to highlight here. But we're always looking for new opportunities for that. I said to you earlier, even like pole top rescue, when coming through the trade for me, that was, do it up a bare pole, come back down and show that you have the ability to drop a rescue dummy down. And we've taken that to some higher levels where we're actually calling in dispatch. They're actually doing a radio blast. We have to make sure that everybody within the company knows that it's training, but doing a radio blast and getting somebody external to answer that they're going to come and assist, and talking to our 911 departments so that we understand what they're looking for when the situation arises, that our system operators know what information they need from our line crew should something happen.
Train like you fight is the military's kind of way of doing things. You have to train real world scenarios. And I think, Matt, what y'all are doing with that is, you're building in that muscle memory, that the mental and physical awareness of, this is something and this is the steps that we're going to have to do. It's not just going up a bare pole anymore. There's so much more.
And the thing is, most of this stuff that we're doing as an industry is going to need to be performed in an emergency situation, right? So could be somebody's life at risk, could be, whatever the case may be. We need to be able to bam, 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 put that stuff to work right away. We can't have to stop and think, now what do I do, right? So it's important to build that, like Jerry said, muscle memory, right? To be able to recall very quickly what I have to do. So
have you noticed a difference in perception and I guess general attitude since you started doing that, since you started training that way?
I think at first, because it was something new, right? There's that skepticism, that little bit of pushback of maybe why are we doing it to this extent? But now, we through the COVID years, we had to scale that back a little bit, right? Trying to make training work during that time, and then it was kind of missed, right? Guys were like, "Hey, we're not doing that now," so now we're trying to get it ramped back up to that. People are seeing the value. Our crews are all seeing the value of that heightened, more real training, which goes a long ways with the guys.
Well, they know that at some point they may have to, and they may have to remember how to do all this.
Yep, right. And exercising all the different ways that we can call in for a situation, right? We have our laptops where they can push a button for an emergency, or get on the radio and call it in as a K code, or call 911 directly, but working through so that they understand all the different ways that they can call an emergency and get emergency services coming their way.
Probably the last question I have, Matt, is kind of just popped in my head as we were talking here. Do you guys do anything when it comes to skills evaluation, again, post apprenticeship, right? So, hey, now I've been a journeyman for 5 years or 10 years. I may be doing certain kinds of work day in and day out, and maybe not doing other types of work, right? And so how do you keep your employees fresh to the point of the conversation we just had about being able to recall quickly and react quickly? Are you guys doing anything, or do you have any type of set program that you kind of assess your people on an ongoing basis to make sure that they are where they need to be and they truly are, let's call it, journeyman skilled, right?
Yeah, at this time we don't, Mark. I know that's something that we've explored a little bit and had some internal discussions on, but we currently aren't set up for that. It's, like I said, we really provide training based off the feedback that we get from our crews on what they need. But I think that looking at it as doing a skills evaluation, understanding maybe where we're lacking on training, and then assessing it versus only doing it for what's asked for. I think our whole industry could benefit from more of that type of action.
Yeah, I know in the substation world, we've been in a rebuild or a build phase here for the last 8 to 10 years, right? So, I know the company I worked for before I left and came to ISPC, there was apprentices that came through the program and were probably 4, 5, 6 years into their journeyman career and never did a lick of maintenance, right? They've been on capital projects, rebuilding substations or building new substations. And so, how can a company expect that individual then to, perform maintenance work or troubleshooting or those types of things? They haven't even had the opportunity to keep their skills up, let alone prove that they can, do that stuff because of the type of work they've been doing. And so you're right. I think it's a big problem or gap in our industry right now that we just say, hey, they're a journeyman, they ought to be able to do it. And that's like saying, hey, I retired from football 15 years ago, but I still ought to be able to run a 4.40. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not realistic.
Only if it's downhill and I've got the car.
Yeah, I don't think I still couldn't think I could run that downhill even. So,
yeah. Mark, to what you said, I mean, the journeyman card is the same, right? Everybody has it, but the training and the background and their experiences are all different. And that's one of the things with UPPCO hiring mainly journeymen, why we had to do that initiation process to really get an idea of where they're coming into us at. What kind of troubleshooting do they have? We'll hire a journeyman that's never really gone on a trouble call to, a partial power, or one that's never terminated underground. And it's like, there's some gaps there in the industry that, when we hire a full rate journeyman, we have to make sure that they're ready to go and start responding to trouble calls solo and whatnot. So it's an interesting gap right now. I think the industry needs to do a little more looking into to try to bridge.
Do you have any type of evaluation placement testing that you use specifically, or is it kind of just a...
We do have it's not part of the evaluation for hiring. We go through a normal hiring process. We get the lineman on board, and then we give them a skills evaluation, or, it kind of runs through the different tasks here at UPPCO and better understands maybe what their experience is and where we need to sharpen them up in that first 6 months.
Jerry, anything else from you? Any follow-up?
We do have to mention our sponsor one more time. Bierer Meters, USA made, family owned and operated, almost 40 years. And number one, you don't see companies around for that long. These guys have been doing it for almost 40 years. Bierer products, the absolute highest quality, lineman proven, safe, dependable, accurate voltage and phasing meters, secondary testers, cable identification tools, ground testers, high pot tools, custom temporary protective grounds, jumpers and pole guards, and many, many more things that they do. I've been to their warehouse. I've seen them. Look, man, they get all the stuff. It's all made in the U.S. They get all these pieces and they assemble it right there in the warehouse, and it is something cool. They know everybody by name and family. I mean, when I say family owned and operated, if they're not a member of the family, they treat them like a member of the family. So, and they take that same attitude to everybody that uses their tools who's now a member of the family, and they want their family to come home safe. So Bierer Meters USA, Bierer Meters. Find them online and give them a shout, give them a try. You won't be disappointed at all.
Thanks, Jerry. Well, Matt, it's been a pleasure talking to you, getting to know a little bit about yourself and UPPCO, and hopefully we've maybe planted some seeds out there of some things you guys are doing good, and I think no matter who we always talk to from podcast to podcast, one common theme is everybody has obstacles and hurdles that they're working to get over and gaps to close. And so, I think as we've talked in the past, the partnerships that are forming in the utility industry, like ECOS and others, is really where we need to go as an industry. We've kind of, I think, plateaued, right, as a utility industry when it comes to specifically safety. And I think the only way we're going to move that bar in a positive direction is if we all do it together. Somebody out there has that silver bullet. I'm not aware of it. So I think we're going to have to all put our heads together and try to move in that direction as a collaborative group. So, again, pleasure Pleasure talking to you today. Thanks for taking some time out of your schedule to join us.
Is there anything, Matt, you want to tell the thousands and thousands of people out there that are going to hear this?
Well, I'll just put a plug out there. I mean, we really appreciate the work that ISPC has done with us and training on our personal protective grounding here at UPPCO. We had Jim Vaughn up here. He did a great job. And just our partnership with you guys has been great. Partnership with Bierer Meters has been great. A sponsor of yours. They've been really good. We're just thankful for the teamwork that you guys bring to the industry, and that's about it.
We appreciate that,
Thank you, Matt.
Really
we appreciate
do.
that.
So, Jerry, you want to kind of cover the closing comments?
The views and opinions shared in this podcast are the personal viewpoints of the participants and may not necessarily reflect the stance of the Institute for Safety and Powerline Construction or its staff. It is highly advised to consult your company management before implementing any actions or policy changes. Please support the sponsors bringing this content to you. Check out BeerMeters.com. Guys, thank y'all so much. I'll see y'all next time.
Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time on ISPC Tailboard Talks.